combs his hair and puts whatever chemicals on his head.
But since you did mention the fact that my Packers are great, and they are great, I might as well put the hat back on, represent for the people. I don't know if my green and yellow goes great with my pastel blue and sort of red theme that I got here, but you know what? Everything goes great with the Green Bay Packers. That's what I know for sure.
Grizz colors, Packers colors. Two hardest colors to match with.
They are. Dude, when the breast cancer awareness game comes around, whether it's the college or pros, there's some teams
where pink looks sweet.
The pink looks so good. I mean, it is hot with some uniforms out there.
Yeah.
And there are some that it is just egregious. The Washington football team with the pink, it should be banned for life. The Montana Grizzlies, the maroon and the pink, it is not a good combo. No. Not a good combo. What they need to do, and I think they've actually done this, is when they go with like the charcoal or the steel gray uniforms that the Grizz wear, that looks really good.
Have you seen the new Grizz unis?
I have.
What do you think?
I like them. I am into going back to like the one stripe deal, and so I like them. I've seen the video. When I say I've seen them, I've seen the video. Okay, I haven't actually seen the uniform, and so I would like. I tend to reserve judgment on this until I get it in person, where I can actually get a feel for this is what it looks like. But yeah, I think it's it's not a drastic change. It's a moderate change.
I'm so colorblind, and I pay attention to things like jersey design so little.
Yeah.
That if the tweet would not have had check out our new jerseys in it, I wouldn't have even known.
Yeah, it's just a couple of racing stripes on the shoulder. Is that what you call them? I don't know what you call them. All right, Coulter. By the way, if you'd like to call, 361-3688 is your phone number, 361-3688. All guests join us via the Rangich Brothers RV phone line. You can also text that number. You got to know that by now, 361-3688. Text us and let us know your thoughts. Interact with us. Tell us what you got going on. You can also listen live on the World Wide Web, 1029ESPN.com. You listen live on the stream all the time. Thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. What's funny?
Well, you are such a well-read and brilliant person. Your spelling problems is just so funny to me. On this outline that Ryan has printed out, he's got the gist, but it's just so far away from how you spell McElmurray.
I must say,
it's amazing.
There's a couple things. Now I know. Look. Quiz me right now.
Yeah.
Here we go. McElmurray, okay? Tell me if I'm right. M, lowercase c, capital E, L, M, U-R-R-Y.
You got it.
So I know how to spell McElmurray.
You just can't type it.
I get going, and the egregious misspellings that I have on our outlines and also on in the systems, it's horrendous. But I also know I do it because no one's going to see it but us unless you go ahead and bring it up to everybody, Now, that said, I am not a great speller in general.
I know, which I just don't get.
Oh, no. Come on now. Lewis and Clark were awful spellers. They're great
pioneers. But they
pioneers.
didn't read books.
Oh, sure they did.
Not like you.
Reading a book and being able to spell they're not that related, man.
Yes, they are.
No, they aren't. They are not.
Well, you must read funny then.
Do you
sound it out?
No, I'm not reading out loud.
I know,
primarily.
but are you a photograph of the word, or are you I am sounding it out via phonics?
I mean, no, I don't. I'm past the point of needing to phonetically.
Sure,
sound
but when
out
you
the words.
read, is it just a matriculation of memorization?
I don't even know what that means.
Some people, like myself, everything is just a memory.
Okay.
So I just identify the word based on memory. I've memorized what that word looks like, not sounds like.
Okay.
Looks like.
I don't know.
Well, I think you do, because it's obviously the opposite. Because if you memorize the words, then you wouldn't misspell them because you just know how to spell them because you would have them memorized.
No, I nothing that you've said here has any bearing. It all registers at a 0 with me.
Huh.
I just read, and sometimes I'm in the flow, and I don't even notice the words on the page, and sometimes it's a struggle, and I got to go back and read the same sentence 4 or 5 times. The only thing that I know for sure is that I'm a slow reader because I insist on reading every single word.
How did you get so good at talking?
Blessed. Hashtag blessed. Bro.
Is it just natural?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It didn't occur to me that I am good at talking.
You've been on the radio for 7 years.
I know, but I mean, there's no prerequisite for being a good talker.
Well, I'll tell you this: as an objective analyst here, you are a phenomenal talker.
Thanks.
Well, and terrible speller,
and that's why I talk and don't write.
You're a great writer too.
Let's get into Blaine McElmurray, shall we?
Okay.
Blaine McElmurray was a great football player, an All-American for the Grizzlies, out of Troy, Montana, of all places. And you said it in the intro to this episode of our Grizz Greats podcast. By the way, again, this is part of the Grizz Greats silver anniversary of the 1995 National Champions podcast, which is out everywhere. Wherever you get your podcast, you can get this. Go on to Apple, go on to Google Podcasts, wherever you get it. Rate, review, subscribe, get into this thing, and listen to these as they come out. We've had some great ones already, and it just continues to roll out with these awesome interviews, conversations, really, that we've gotten to have with these folks. But Blaine McElmurray is the most recent one. This episode is going to be up as soon as we're done with this show. We're going to post it immediately when we finish up here this afternoon, and it will be out there for you to listen to. So we'll play a little snippet from you here. But there's a lot of schools and towns that have been pipelines either all the time or at various points in time to football in the state of Montana, be it Montana or Montana State.
Yep.
Troy has not been one.
No.
Blaine McElmurray is one of 2 or maybe 3 kids.
Well, Jace Fisher, the kid that's coming to Montana
now.
State, he's the 3rd kid to come out of Troy.
Okay.
Division 1.
So,
I think he's the first kid ever to go to the Cats.
Well, I mean,
because I think the other 2
third.
Yeah, the other 2 went to the Grizz.
Right. But it's remarkable, though, too, for a town that has now just is producing its 3rd Division I Big Sky level football player.
Yep.
That Blaine would come from there and go to the league. You know what I mean? I mean, talk about impressive. And
there is a there's like a socioeconomic element to that, though, and I think that this is it existed in a few Montana towns. Mm-hmm. Most Montana towns that have been also mining towns remain mining towns. Colstrip remains a mining town. Butte, by and large, remains a mining town. Mm-hmm. It's evolved drastically in both the process and what they're mining for and the environmental nature of it and all those things, but it still can be defined by the mine. It's still the mining city.
Yeah.
Troy, because it's funny to say that there's even like a bedroom community of something as small as Libby, but there is. And Troy was a mining town, but there's a definitive reason why Troy sports were better when Blaine McElmurray was in high school than ever before and ever since. Part of it was because Blaine McElmurray was there. That helps. But the mine was going really, it was churning. It was cranking.
Yeah.
And so there was more people living there. And so there's more people engaged in the community. And so that's a definitive reason as to why.
Well, it's an awesome story, and he, a guy who now resides in Missoula, runs McElmurray Homes, has 2 phenomenal track athletes.
Well, I guess about to be 3 because his youngest daughter just got into high school too.
But his oldest daughter is at Nebraska.
Yep.
Hello, running track there at Nebraska, and so the lineage continues. But an awesome conversation. We're happy to bring a little bit of it to you.
My favorite part so far about doing this is I love history. I love remembering history. I love listening to guys tell stories. It's one of my favorite things, just period.
Yeah.
But the circle of life that we're going through now is so interesting. I talked about this when we recorded with Jason Crebo the other day, and how when I was a little kid, I was 8 years old when this national championship was won, and I just thought that these guys were just like gods. I thought they were heroes.
They were.
They were.
They are. Yeah.
They were. But when you're a little kid, you don't even consider
your orientation is different.
It's not like that guy's a great athlete who's also a human. You don't even think this guy's a human. You think he's like some superhero. And the thing that's so interesting about Blaine is when I first moved back to Missoula, that's when Ashley McElmurray was just exploding onto the track scene. She was a junior, and she was just ripping it up. And then we started following her pretty heavily because we're like, well, man, this girl is like amazing. She's like a Big Ten caliber athlete, which now she is. She goes to Nebraska. She runs for the Cornhuskers. But the whole first year of covering Ashley, even though her last name is McElmurray, I never considered that was Blaine McElmurray's daughter. Right. And so then I'm sitting down at the Mo Club buying Sentinel head track coach Craig Bettler a hamburger after they won state track. And here walks in Christy, Ashley's mom, who looks just like her. I said, oh, you must be Ashley's mom. And then I look at this guy, I'm like, holy cow, I never put this together. Ashley McElmurray's Blaine McElmurray's daughter. What's up, Blaine?
You know what your problem was? You didn't have it spelled right in your head.
It's so funny because I could tell that Blaine just loved that the sports guy had known his daughter first.
Yeah.
Like it just made him so proud that we had known her first, and then I was like, "Oh, it's Blaine's daughter."
That's right. That was the trail of the breadcrumbs back to Blaine. Well, we like to bring you every time we have an episode a little piece of it, a little portion of it to give you a taste. So we will do that now. Grizz Greats. The silver anniversary of the 1995 national champions is brought to us by First Security Bank and Blackfoot Communications. Back in 1995, there's a good chance that when you called your friends, family, and colleagues on the other side of town, you were using phone service from Blackfoot Communications. And 25 years later, Blackfoot continues to keep our homes, businesses connected with state-of-the-art voice and internet services. Blackfoot takes great pride in celebrating the indelible mark left by Montana's run to its first football national championship in 1995. Blackfoot is excited to sponsor Grizz Greats, the silver anniversary of the 1995 national champions. That's this 25-part podcast series reliving that epic campaign. Blackfoot, a proud supporter of Grizzly Athletics. Here you go from the Grizz Greats podcast, Blaine McElmurray.
One thing that's so fascinating to me about small Montana towns, too, is sometimes when you see a surge in great athletes, you can pin it on a specific thing that's going on in the community. Was there anything going on in the Troy-Libby area at that time? Was the mine rolling along?
Yeah, that's kind of what it was. The mine was really rolling at the time, and lumber was still going pretty good. So Troy was one of the bigger Class B schools.
Right.
And so we had a lot more athletes. And, leading up to our state championship, we had good teams. And even after I left, they had good teams for a while. There's just so many more kids. And when a program starts to grow, too, you get so many more kids that are starting to work harder. More kids are coming out. And we just kind of developed this program there, and it kind of fed off of itself for a while.
When it came time to get recruited, I know you wanted to go to the University of Montana. You have, your dad is the coach, so there's a certain level of communication that is generally had between coaches and at the high school and the collegiate level. But what was it? Who came to see you? Was it Don Reed? Was it Jerome Sowers? Was it somebody else? And what was the sort of the pitch and the way that it happened for you coming out of high school, that when you said, okay, I'm going to the Grizzlies?
Yeah, so how it kind of started is I came down to the football camps that they used to have. Well, They still have them, I guess. But I think being a Class B school, a lot of people don't really know what type of athlete you are because the competition level isn't the same by any means as AA. And so I went down to the camps, and at those camps, I performed really well. And so after that, then that's kind of how they saw, hey, this kid might be someone that we're looking for. And so then they started showing up at some of the games. And, I'm trying to remember who even was there. I don't even remember for sure who it was, but we started getting them quite often. They would be like, hey, we're going to show up at this game or whatever. And so it was really exciting. And then having gone to the state championship, I remember, I think Coach Dennehy, and I don't remember who else were down on the sidelines. I remember seeing them down the sidelines with their Grizz stuff for the championship football game. And so that was pretty cool. And then when I got a chance, I had chances to go there, and MSU were basically my two main schools. But academically, I thought I should go to MSU because I wanted to be an electrical engineer, but I couldn't get myself to go to MSU. I wanted to be a Grizz, so that's where I ended up.
Do you have memories of the Grizz when you were a kid pre-high school? Because I think now it's so easy to forget that what the Grizz became, which you guys had a large hand in building the foundation for, was not what the Grizz were in the early 1980s. I mean, the Bobcats ruled the day all the way to the 70s, all the way through the mid-80s, and then it shifted. And when Don Reed came, but I think that when you committed to the Grizz, I think just the 1989 team was the only team that had made the playoffs in the last 20-some years. So do you remember what the Grizz were like when you were a kid?
Yeah, so when I don't remember exactly what they were like. In fact, I don't even know if I had even been to a game. Because my dad coached every Saturday.
Sure.
So we didn't have many opportunities to get up to go to games. But I just know that when we came in, my class, we weren't very good, and the big goal was to win the Big Sky. And that could have been just as big as the national championship at the time, because it just didn't happen. And then things just kind of started changing. We started winning the Big Sky. We started, winning every week. And then the goals kind of changed.
When it came to your arrival on campus and now you are a member of this football team, what do you remember? I mean, you've been to the camps, you've been to the school, but now you're a part of the team, playing football, practicing, being in Washington Grizzly. Obviously still a very new stadium and a crown jewel, which it still is, but that was – 5-6 years that it even existed when 7, I guess, when you got to campus. But what was it like to just be a member of that team when you first arrived?
Well, I'll tell you what, I can still remember this pretty clearly. I can remember walking in kind of one of our first kind of get-togethers. We were at the food service. And at the time, no students are on campus. And you walk in, and I was one, the freshmen. We got there a little bit earlier, and we're all sitting at a seat and talking and kind of being really quiet because we're all kind of shy. And all the other guys that are the starters or fellas, they start walking in, and you're looking around, and you're just like, whoa, what did I get myself into here? And you wonder, you were like, am I ever even going to be able to play? Am I ever going to be able to see the field? I mean, you see these guys, especially coming from Troy, where my starting center was 155 pounds. I mean,
And then you see Scott Gregg.
yeah, and I see these guys, and I'm like, even the guys I don't know who they are, they're huge. And it was just a kind of a wake-up call, like, are you sure you wanted me to come here? I don't know if I can do this, if I can fit in. So yeah, it was this kind of a scary and kind of eye-opening, and I didn't know what could happen. And then, like you said, then you walk into the stadium. It's just like people can sit all around this thing. In Troy, we have the little bleachers on the side, and most of the people stand along the sidelines.
Right.
Completely different thing. And so, yeah, it was kind of overwhelming at first. And honestly, I didn't know if I belonged there.
What was there a moment when you said, okay, I mean, there had to be, obviously it progressed at some point, but was there an instance that you recall where you go, I can play at this level?
I think what it was more than anything is I had a lot of the coaches that were really positive with me and told me, hey, you can do this, you can do that. And they came to me early in camp and said, hey, we might not redshirt you. And to me, that was kind of shocking. I think at that moment, it's kind of like, well, they must think that I can do this. And then it was only like probably 2 or 3 days later, I tore my ACL in a scrimmage. And so then that was kind of to the wayside. But that was kind of the moment when they said, we don't want you to redshirt. That kind of said, oh, okay, they want you to play now. So that must mean that, I can do this.
The GET coaching staff, the dynamic of the personalities is interesting because Don Reed is just such this overarching figure, but then you have Mr. Butte McDanahy, but then you have sort of the storytelling grandfather in Jerome Sowers. I know he's a lot younger back then, but he's such an intellectual type coach, not the fire and brimstone that maybe Craig Paulson brings, not the perfectionist that Brett Pease is. What do you remember about that coaching staff and Jerome Sowers specifically? He had such a reputation for developing great players in the secondary. He had done it with Tim Houck. I mean, what sort of things do you remember about Coach Sowers?
Coach Sowers was he was great. And he was obviously the defensive coordinator at the time and my position coach. So having him as your position coach, you got to know him a lot better. And he was a great guy because he was really competitive. But then when things didn't go well, sometimes he didn't get all over your case. He's like, it's okay. We're going to live to fight another day, basically. And let's just regroup and let's analyze what happened here and let's move on. And so I really appreciated that with him because, sometimes, for the most part, we had a lot of success, but sometimes things didn't go well. We played an Idaho game, and I don't remember if it was this year or not, but we went down to Idaho. Yeah, we lost this game 43-55.
And that was the last loss of the 95 season, right?
Yeah, and we went down there, and we played really poorly, especially on defense. And it was horrible. And we all came back expecting, just maybe a total butt chewing, and he was just like, you know what? Sometimes you eat the bear, sometimes the bear eats you. And today we got 8. So, I mean, he was great. And, Coach Sowers made football fun. Coach Sowers had that tough side to him, but he also was there to, like your dad, and he was on your side. So he was terrific, and I couldn't have asked for a better coach to be around.
The dynamic of the league back then, leading up to the 95 season, was distinctly different than it is now as well. I mean, Bobby Houck talks all the time now. Anybody that's playing Montana, it's the biggest game of the year because they're playing Montana. They're playing the Grizzlies. Grizz hadn't quite established that reputation as the juggernaut of the league quite yet, with Nevada, Idaho, Boise State still in the league. I mean, what do you remember about sort of trying to fight into the higher ranks of the Big Sky at that time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny now. I mean, the teams that were the teams to beat were Idaho, and granted, Idaho's came back, but they were a lot better team back then.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think Idaho, between the Dennis Erickson and John L. Smith days, they made the playoffs like 8 out of 13 years and made the semifinals, I think, 4 times. They were rolling.
Great. Yeah, they were rolling. And then we had Boise State. I think maybe this year or the year prior to this, they might have played the national championship.
They did.
Mm-hmm. And they were a tough team. And then when I was there, they didn't have Nevada Reno, and then we always had to go down to Northern Arizona, and we always struggled there. And so it was tough just to win our conference, let alone, I mean, for a while there, it was like nobody was going to take out the Grizz in the Big Sky. It just wasn't. It's evened out now, but for a while, those teams were tough. And so I always kind of felt like, when Boise and Idaho left, I mean, man, this should be an easy conference for the Grizz because 2 best teams gone.
When it came to as a team, taking those steps, because it was building, in the back half at that point of Don Reed's tenure at the University of Montana, though people didn't know it, of course. A lot of people talk about Dave Dickinson's coming out party as that South Dakota game. That really kind of put we're going to find a way to win no matter what mentality into the group. But there was still those couple of years of building. What do you remember about coming into the 95 season, having made a run in 1994? Obviously, Dave was injured at the end of that season, but had really kind of established yourselves as a national contender, even heading into a national power. What were your expectations going into 95?
Yeah, 95, we had really high expectations. And, I don't remember at what point during the season it was, but I can remember Coach had gathered us all down at Washington Grizzly, and we were down on the field. And he's down there, and he's talking about some stuff, and the next thing you know, he looks up and he points at the press box. And he goes, guys, we're going to win a national championship, and we're going to have 1995 put right up there on the press box. And he talked about that a number of times, and I think that kind of turned into our ultimate goal, because the year before we had, like you had said, Dave got hurt in that semifinal game against Youngstown. And had that not happened, it would have been a different game. And we realized that we were the team, if we played well, that nobody could beat us. And that season, I mean, it kind of went along that way. I mean, Dave kind of started playing here at that Washington State game, and we lost that game. But we realized that we could play with the big boys. And at that year, Washington State was not just a slacker team. They were a good team that year. And that whole season, though, we had big goals in mind. And Don Reed had kind of put that in our head. We had that in the back of our head, but he kind of put that at the forefront and said, you guys can do that. And we bought in. And sure enough, just kind of steamrolled most of the season.
So there you go. Blaine McElmurray from his episode, Grizz Greats, the 1995 national champions, the silver anniversary of that season. Great episode that we have for you. It's coming out again in less than 2 hours. As soon as we're done here, we're going to post that for you. You can get it wherever you get your podcast. But great to talk to him, and he's awesome, man. Just an awesome guy to sit and talk to, and has become a real friend of the show, of us, and of obviously this podcast series that we did here.
Another thing that I find so interesting is the sort of the identity of this team. The sweeping assumption is that University of Montana and Montana State both are just rough and tumble, smack you in the face, hit you in the mouth. And there's been portions of the history of both programs where that is absolutely true.
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, the Bobcats 70s through the mid-80s when they won the national championship, absolutely like that. And even the 90s, the Cliff Eisel days, those teams were tough. Their biggest problem, they just couldn't find a quarterback.
Yeah.
But they were winning in the cliche Montana way. Early 2000s, Joe Gunn and Bobby Houck, they were winning in that cliche Montana way. This team, though, was winning way more with finesse, athleticism, and more than anything, though, intelligence. I think that's why this podcast series has been so fun to do, because all these guys are so freaking smart. People forget, like Dave Dickinson's made a life of football. He was on his way to med school. Blaine McElmurray, he builds houses now, but he wanted to be a doctor once upon a time, too. I mean, these guys were high academic guys, too. They were winning based on intellect, and I think that that's an interesting thing, because they're not necessarily the punch-you-in-the-face type Montana guys that you'd expect. They are on the football field, but all such unassuming smart guys off the field as well.
No doubt. Well, this has been a fun series to do, and we will continue to bring this out through the rest of this calendar year. Grizz Greats silver anniversary of the 1995 National Champions, brought to us by Blackfoot Communications and also by First Security Bank. And First Security Bank had quite a hand in helping Montana and Montana fans in those early days when you talk about a bit of playoff action in the city of Missoula.
No question. We just recorded with All-American tackle Eric Simonson earlier this week, and he was talking about one of his memories. This is actually unsolicited, talking about when they first realized how much support the Missoula community had. He said he remembered when First Security Bank President Bill Boucher got a group of business owners together and said, hey, 1993 playoffs, we have a chance to host a game. We will guarantee the game for the athletic department. And that's a windfall moment, because as we know, Montana's hosted dozens, if probably even close to 100 playoff games since then, because the Grizz went to the playoffs 17 years in a row and won playoff games so often. There was sometimes 4 playoff games per fall in Missoula during the height of that run. But 1993, that was sort of the tipping point to then 2 years later, 1995, University of Montana turns that local optimism into national prominence by winning the Division I AA National Championship. 25 years later, First Security Bank remains a proud sponsor of Grizz Greats, the silver anniversary of the 1995 National Champions. A 25-part podcast series remembering this epic season. First Security Bank, always a proud supporter of Grizz athletics and the University of Montana.
Missouri Valley has put out a schedule. Does that mean anything for the Big Sky? We'll discuss that right after this.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. Well, more like Les Schwab alignment and brakes and shocks and wheels and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer all that. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep at night, because all those services affect things like steering and stopping. That's why we offer more than tires to help keep you safe. Stop by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Now more than ever, it's important to have a bank that's here for you. At Opportunity Bank, we're here when and where you need us. For the convenience and safety of online or mobile banking, Opportunity Bank is there at your fingertips 24 hours a day. And when you need personal service from people you know right here in our community, it all starts with a phone call to your local branch. We're here working for you. Opportunity Bank of Montana, member FDIC.
The world may have slowed down, but it didn't stop. If you're back on the road and traveling to Missoula, we invite you to give Missoula's Wingate a try. We love our regular corporate guests and offer fantastic service, great year-round rates, and clean and comfortable rooms that will keep you coming back. While you're here, you can rack up the Wyndham Rewards points for free nights or airline miles. And starting in July, you can release some steam in our newly expanded fitness room. The team at Missoula's Wingate would love to make you feel at home.
There's only one way to really enjoy fall sports, and that's on a full stomach. So whether you're watching the MLB, NHL, NFL, NBA, whatever the letters, the Desperado has an A-plus menu to fill your belly while you're cheering on your team. Head to the Desperado for a juicy bacon burger, a steaming plate of cheesy nachos, ice-cold beer, and hands down, the best hot wings in town. If it's a steak you're looking for, well, they've got that too. Whether the game ends in a win or a loss, get your winner Despo dinner at the Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell, across from the Y.
Have you taken the My Voter Page Challenge? It's at votinginmontana.com, and it's the easiest way to determine if you're ready to vote. The coronavirus has made it more important than ever to verify your voter information. If you've changed your address, last name, or maybe haven't voted in a while, take the My Voter Page Challenge and make your vote count. Votinginmontana.com and this message are brought to you by the Montana Association of Clerk and Recorders and Election Administrators.
The Montana Center for Horsemanship is hosting a one-day packing and outfitting event Saturday, October 3rd in Dillon, Montana. Enjoy demonstrations on natural horsemanship, packing and outfitting, livestock, and more. Attendees can also learn about career and seasonal job opportunities with local outfitters. Registration is required for this one-day event Saturday, October 3rd, 9:30 to 4:30. For more information and to register, go to montanacenterforhorsemanship.org.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tootell, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. The Montana High School Association made several changes to its postseason tournaments and events on Wednesday. The most notable change is to the all-class volleyball tournament, an event traditionally featuring all 4 high school classifications and hosted at Brick Breeden Fieldhouse in Bozeman. Instead, the MHSA is exploring having an on-site event in various host cities.
Other changes include district, divisional, and state tournaments having the option of offering single elimination bracket play or a tournament format at separate sites, potentially still allowing for double elimination. For state, each classification will determine the format, the MHSA said. Postseason play begins October 1st with state golf, Class A's, and Butte Class AA right here in Missoula.
For other sports, the MHSA will finalize formats and locations after hearing from classifications and possible host communities. The host site must allow a minimum of 2 tickets per suited player for both home and visitors if the playoff structure, or a minimum of 2 tickets for each suited player in a tournament format. Because of this, Missoula County is reviewing its current rules to explore allowing more than just the 2 tickets per athlete of host communities or teams as is currently allowed.
And finally, Montana was slanging offers to the class of 2021 for football, and they got to commit right away. Billings Central junior kicker Camden Capser gave his pledge to Bobby Houck.
This ESPN Missoula Sports Center is brought to you by Aspen Sound.
Hey, how we doing? It's Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Good to be with you. At Gus Tootell on Twitter, at 102.9 ESPN, at Skyline Sports MT. Coulter over here doing shake weight without the shake weight. Right? That's your dance move. That's your dance move. Just arms
That's
up in the
first
air.
South Park reference you've ever made.
Oh, get out of here.
Do you like South Park?
It's all right. Not really.
Why?
I don't know. I mean, I was into it when I was, like in college for, I don't know, about 6 months, and then I was kind of over it. Grew out of it. In any case, now I'm into Paw Patrol. Got kids, that's the way it goes. Coulter, the Missouri Valley Conference, and Sam Herder, Hero Sports, tweeted this out, but they have released their spring football schedule. Okay, it is out. I have a couple of thoughts about the schedule itself, but the outline of this is February 20th is when games begin in the Missouri Valley Conference.
In fact, February 19th.
Yeah, because it goes on Friday. Yeah. So the weekend of the 20th, and it runs through April 17th. There are count them up 8 games and a bye week, which is exactly what Kent Haslam specifically, referenced, but I think that the Big Sky Conference in general is kind of their idea as well. An 8-game, 9-week regular season in the spring, and this, for them sets up as beginning on the 20th of February and running through April 17th. April 17th, notably in Montana, is the very, very, very edge of the end of winter. Okay.
Sometimes.
Maybe, if you're very lucky. So just so we're clear what spring means. The first question, and yours is a good question, then I have a question about this specifically, Coulter, but does this put pressure on the Big Sky Conference to put a schedule together to do this?
Well, I think that on the national scale it does.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the Missouri Valley Conference is distinctly unique in the scope of both Division I football as a whole and the FCS for 2 reasons. One, the most powerful and financially lucrative and relevant institutions in the Missouri Valley Football Conference reside in North Dakota and South Dakota. those two states have less people combined than the entire state of Montana. They're two of the only states that are smaller in population than Montana.
Right.
Therefore, and they also have, politically are even farther to the right, and we've seen the influence that has on coronavirus protocols. More specifically, though, the reason that the Missouri Valley can, with relative ease, roll out a spring football schedule that starts in the middle of winter.
They got some domes.
North Dakota State, South Dakota, and Northern Iowa all play in domes.
The one that this hurts actually the most, though, is the next best team in the conference.
South Dakota State.
Absolutely.
Right, but you look at this schedule. The opening weekend, the only outdoor game is in Southern Illinois, which just is going to have distinctly better weather, while not great, distinctly better weather than Fargo, North Dakota, or Grand Forks, North Dakota.
Absolutely.
You look at the second weekend. Missouri State is the only school that's hosting a game, and that is absolutely the southernmost of any of the Western FCS schools.
That's right.
Then you look at the third weekend, and now you finally get a couple games. Illinois State is hosting a game, Indiana State, Youngstown State. But like South Dakota State does not host a game until March 13th. So you're talking 3 or 4 weeks of play for SDSU has to play in their outdoor stadium. The Big Sky can't replicate that to nearly that level because of the fact that they have 13 teams, first of all. But second of all, Idaho and Idaho State are the only two schools that play indoors.
Yeah, but they can replicate it insofar as there are a lot more teams that are truly south in the Big Sky Conference.
Well, I guess NAU plays indoors too.
You can go to NAU.
But here's the issue,
Southern Utah to Davis, California.
Sure, but here's the other issue is that the Missouri Valley can make a schedule right now because everybody in the Missouri Valley is in to play. I don't know at what point can you even have the vote for the Big Sky to see who's going to be in.
Here's the thing: is the Big Sky, I think, can put the schedule together regardless of whether the teams are quote unquote in to play. You know, they can do it, but then the schools ultimately are going to have to make the decision. And I don't know if there may be schools. I don't know what South Dakota State thinks about playing February the 20th, starting their football season and trying to prepare for a season. Now, if I'm not mistaken, they have an indoor facility, right?
So that's the other thing is that you have the 4 teams with the domes, but then you also have SDSU has an indoor as well.
I want to ask you about this dynamic, though. There are 11 teams, I think, in the Missouri Valley.
That's correct.
So if you're playing 8 teams, you're the 9th team.
You're missing 2.
Ergo, there's 2 teams you're not playing. For North Dakota State, those 2 teams are Southern Illinois and Western Illinois. Southern Illinois and Western Illinois are, potentially good teams. Western Illinois has actually been pretty decent. I have no idea what they look like this year. Here's my question for you. If this was to go off, okay, let's say it goes off nationwide, whatever happens, just buy it. Just buy it for a minute for me. Okay. We have ourselves a 16-team FCS national championship, but only 5 at-large bids.
Yep.
Either Western Illinois or Southern Illinois, who both, by the way, would play and do play South Dakota State in this. Let's say they run the table, and they're an undefeated team that didn't play North Dakota State in their own division.
Right.
What would you think about the not even the eligibility? Of course, they're eligible, but the conversation about whether or not to let a team in with an at-large bid that on one hand has a perfect record, but on another hand didn't play the team, or even better, that they're a one-loss team amongst 8 or 10 one-loss teams nationwide, but they didn't play the number 1 team in their conference in the country.
Tell me this: does Illinois State play North Dakota State, South Dakota State?
Illinois State, they do not play South Dakota State or Youngstown State. They do play North Dakota State.
Okay. Does Northern Iowa play NDSU and SDSU?
They don't play either of them.
Northern Iowa does not play either.
Oh, I'm sorry. First of all, let me go back. I was looking at who they don't have scheduled. Yeah. Illinois State does not play South Dakota State. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. You wanted Northern Iowa?
Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa plays both North Dakota State and South Dakota State. In fact, they're the last 2 games on their schedule.
Interesting. So that's going to be the other parallel is you mentioned those teams, Western Illinois, Southern Illinois, that don't play NDSU and say they run the table. Well, then also say Northern Iowa runs the table except for they lose to those two schools.
Right.
Now, though, because Northern Iowa is going to start the season in the preseason top 5 probably, and Illinois State's going to start the season in the preseason top 10, you could also have a scenario where a team that ran the table but didn't play the right teams gets left out in favor of a 1 or even 2-loss team. That's where this whole thing gets incredibly muddy.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. There's a lot more to talk about both the Missouri Valley specifically and then the implications for the Big Sky. But there you go. There is one FCS conference that has a spring schedule that is now out. You can go check it out if you are so inclined. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, Gino Leonard, linebacker from Sentinel High School. He's a commit to the University of Montana. He joins us in studio next.
Whether you work hard or play hard, you need a hairstyle that fits your lifestyle. And you can find your unique style at Compass Barbershop, recently voted one of Missoula's best barbershops. So if you're going full throttle or looking for that laid-back look, the professionals at Compass Barbershop can give you the precision cut you're looking for. Schedule your online appointment at compassbarber.com. For more details, find them on Facebook or Instagram. So find your way to Compass Barbershop, open Monday through Saturday on the Hip Strip at the corner of Modern and Retro.
Are you ready for some football? Coral here from the Stone, and we are thrilled to be airing football Sunday, Monday, and Thursday nights. We will have beer specials, including domestic beer buckets, $3 specialty tap handles during the game, and wear your team colors and get $1 off your first draft beer. We know you get hungry cheering on your favorite teams, so the Stone will have your favorite football food on the menu. Chicken strips, onion rings, the best soft pretzels and beer cheese, and now wings. Book our conference room to watch with groups of up to 10 people. The Stone, just a stone's throw away on North Reserve.
Whether you're shopping for your first home, need something bigger, or downsizing for retirement, you need a mortgage. Talk to the experts at Farmers State Bank or start the application process online at farmersebank.com. Our mortgage lenders have many options to help you into the home of your dreams, from conventional to in-house, VA, rural development, and more. Farmers State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907, an equal housing lender and member FDIC.
The world of real estate is always evolving. That's more true now than ever. If you are a longtime Missoulian that is looking to upgrade or downsize, it might be the best time yet to sell. If you're in the position to buy something new, today might be the best time to buy. And no matter what questions you have when it comes to residential or commercial real estate, Mike Nugent and the professionals at Berkshire Hathaway in Missoula have your answers. To find out what Mike can do for you, give him a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Being in the Army National Guard is about more than serving your country. It's about being there for your community when your neighbors need you most. The Army National Guard makes college affordable, and serving part-time can help you graduate debt-free. Do you want to stay close to friends and family? The Guard allows you to serve close to home. Serving part-time in the Army National Guard lets you have the life you want. Learn more by visiting nationalguard.com.
Sponsored by the Montana Army National Guard. Aired by the Montana Broadcasters Association and this station.
The Missoula Children's Theater is excited to announce that registration is open for all of its local children's programming, beginning with the fall production of The Wizard of Oz. Open to ages K through 12, The Wizard of Oz experience is a rehearsal process for a musical performance of MCT's original, newly revamped version of The Wizard of Oz. All registered students will participate in an audition, receive an age-appropriate role, attend specific rehearsals, and perform in the final production. Visit mctinc.org for more information.
If it matters to Missoula, it matters to us. Ryan Tootell and Colter Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio. If we do it again, I'm gonna freak out. If we do it again, I'm gonna freak out.
Welcome back to Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks for rolling along with us on Twitter at Gus Tootell at 102.9 ESPN at Skyline Sports MT. And you can also check us out on YouTube. Got the YouTube channel up and running, so go ahead and check that out as well.
We are joined now in studio by Missoula Sentinel senior Gino Leonard. He's going to the University of Montana to play football, but right now playing for the top-ranked team in Class AA. Gino, thanks for coming by, man.
Yeah, you bet. Thanks for having me.
First of all, tell us a little bit about Sentinel, because Sentinel's rolling right now. You guys 2-0, pretty darn dominant. I mean, I'm not very good at math. I know you're the guy that has 2.5 hours worth of AP stats a couple times a week.
That's 100% win percentage. Filter, what 2-0 is right there.
You guys have outscored teams 84-13 right now, and I know that it's been, some of the frontline guys have been able to get out of the game a little bit too. Jace Kluswich hasn't had to have too many touches. Same with TJ Roush, but you guys are rolling along right now. What's this been like so far for you? What's been some of the keys to your guys' success? Seems like you're a pretty close group.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's an amazing experience. And starting up when we all went in quarantine and lockdown, we were having Zoom meetings with each other, position groups and offensive, defensive meetings, and installing that family-based unitary and just getting everybody on the same page. So it's all been developed since we were little kids. I mean, playing football together, flag football, MYF, and then getting into the high school level, we all had the same goal, and that was win a state championship. So our coaches are great with it. I mean, we see that the whole family aspect is what's most important to winning games. So I think we're doing that right now.
Gino, you committed to the University of Montana, to the Grizzlies, and it's interesting. Coulter tracks this stuff really closely and has talked to all the coaches and everybody, and there seems to be pretty wide consensus that this particular class across the state is one of the better classes that we've seen in a while in terms of just the total number of D1 talent and the high-end level of D1 talent. Also feels like Sentinel might have a disproportionate number of those dudes on this football team right now. So what's it like playing in another year? You might be one of two guys who are maybe kind of the blue chip kind of guys for your high school team, but right now, I mean, he already named a couple of guys. Obviously, Klusewicz, you got Rollins and so forth on the team. To have a whole group of dudes that are headed for the next level, and yet you have this full senior year to play together, it's got to be pretty cool, and you got to have, I would think, a lot of confidence in that.
Yeah, definitely. It's been awesome. I mean, every day at practice, you're competing against some of the best in the state, and we always say that with our offensive defensive line. I mean, Daniel Defort, he's a hog to move up front when you're blocking him at center or guard, so it just makes you better. And then those DBs, they're going against great guys like Donovan South and Jace Klusewicz battling every day, and then quarterback battle. It's like iron sharpens iron, so everyone's getting better each day through practice.
That part's been interesting to follow, too. Camden Sermon transfers in from Wenatchee. He's an all-conference quarterback in the state of Washington. His older brother, Cy, played for the Grizzlies these last 5 years. But you guys had a returning all-conference quarterback in Dayton Bay who was great last year. And I know they had, like you said, they battled it out, and it seemed like they're getting pretty equal reps. I know they bring something a little different to the table, each of them. Break it down for us. What does each quarterback bring? What do you thought of their ability to kind of balance this shared role?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's a great dynamic to have, I mean, it's hard to scout for two quarterbacks. Any defense would say that. So one guy does something well, the other guy, does even better. So, I mean, Bay, he's a great pocket passer, super smart with his decisions, and Camden is an all-around athlete. He can make plays happen, playing offense and defense for us. So, I mean, they're both studs, and they're both helping us out tremendously.
Gino Leonard, senior, Sentinel High School, playing football there, committed about 2 months ago now to the University of Montana. You're from Missoula. It makes sense. Was there any other option than the University of Montana for you?
Not really. I mean, there's subtle thoughts, but, that was also ultimately the end goal, playing football in your backyard with your friends. You're always acting like, yeah, I'm playing for the Grizz right now. So it was always your dream to get there. And, just a few weeks ago, I was watching that NDSU game from 2015. You just reminisce in those games, and Joey Counts diving into the end zone. It's like, yeah, I can't wait to be on that stage and be able to have that opportunity.
Tell us about your recruiting. I mean, who was when did it first start, and how did the process play out?
Recruiting's special. Everybody has different experiences with it. Mine all started probably February last year, and I was getting all the NAI schools in Montana, some around the Washington area, reaching out to me. Weber State, they hit me up. UC Davis, Cats quite a bit. So. It's awesome. But ultimately the coaches that show the most love, and then where you really want to end up ultimately, that's where your end decision ends up going. So
I've watched you play live, I think 4 times now. And to me, you seem just like a guy that Bobby Houck would want on defense. You play hard, run to the ball, relentless. Do you think that your style fits the style that Montana's trying to build right now?
I definitely think the U of M's got a certain swagger to them on defense, just the mean mug, and then showing them that you'll be there for 4 quarters, punching in the mouth early. But, I think we model that well, too, at the school, at Sentinel, with our whole defense. So, I mean, I think I'll fit in great wherever I'm playing or however I'm contributing to the U of M. So, however I fit in well there, just sign me up and I'm ready to go.
You're playing mostly D-line right now, right?
I'm playing linebacker.
So you're playing linebacker now, so it's not going to be a transition. So you already got it. Okay. So you prefer inside, outside. And what do you think of what Montana's linebackers do right now? To me, is fascinating. I mean, we analyze football on an X's and O's level pretty deep, and I consider myself pretty darn good at it. And I had no idea what Montana was doing on defense for like the first 10 games that Bobby Hawk was back. I'm trying to sit here thinking, I'm like, it looks like a 3-3-5 stack, but sometimes it's not. And the linebackers are playing multiple gaps, and it's impressive. I mean, it looks like it's a fun defense to play. So do you see yourself as one of those inside guys, or what do you think of just the role that those guys have?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Watching their games, I was also just watching that Southeast Louisiana game and watching those linebackers bounce around. You never know who's coming. You never know who's dropping back, and that's tough for an offense to also scout. And we're doing some of that this year at Sentinel with we're bringing our 2 inside guys up and showing different looks, and you can tell it's being successful for us already. So, yeah, definitely. I'm excited to hop in that and I think rushing and getting in those big guys' face is pretty fun. So especially when you're getting past them and getting into the backfield. So either way, I'm excited to go, and I think it's a great dynamic they got going over at the U.
You know, you have this hope and this goal, and you've achieved some of that already, and then there's a lot of it that's still out there in front of you, right? And if you were to redshirt next year and then keep going, I mean, you're like a long ways out still, and a lot of work between you and actually seeing the field and playing football at the University of Montana. That said, there's a long and very obvious and very renowned history of Montana linebackers at the University of Montana. And when you look at that history and that lineage, is that something that is motivating to you, but also is it something that you feel pressure from? Like, how do you sort of think about your role and now this commitment to this school?
Yeah, ultimately, making my decision to play for the U. I mean, you look at it, that's LBU. I mean, the greatest linebackers that come out of the state came from there. You know, Brock Coyle, Jordan Tripp, all those other guys, Dante Olson. So successful, and I don't see a bunch of pressure because I think they have great coaches at the U. I think Coach Bear, he knows what he's talking about. He's been many places, and I think he gets his guys going any way he can. So I'm excited for the opportunity and excited to get the coaching. So
that part, I mean, how old are you, 17, 18?
17.
So when you're sitting there talking to a guy like Kent Bear, I mean, this guy's been coaching college football probably as long as your dad has been alive. I mean, this guy has been coaching college football since like the mid-'70s.
Yeah.
When you have that breadth of knowledge, I mean, what's that like sitting in the room with him and just knowing, I mean, this guy's been at Stanford, Cal, Notre Dame, Washington. I mean, he's been everywhere.
Yeah, it's definitely jaw-dropping. I mean, it's phenomenal. You know, the amount of experience he has and the amount of knowledge he has with the game of football. So I'm just excited to get a chunk of his mind and just listen to what he has to say, helping me out with situational football and just helping you out, like, just getting that technique down. And so it's all about being a technician.
Gino Leonard joining us again, a linebacker, Sentinel High School, Sentinel 2-0, and one of the top teams, if not the top team at the AA level in the state of Montana right now as we're early in this football season. What's the most fun thing about playing football?
I think football's a game that'll humble you pretty good, but when you're successful, I mean, there's nothing better. I mean, having fun with your friends out there, jumping around, partying on the hat, I think that's the best part. Seeing your guys be successful and seeing yourself be successful.
Offensively, you played center right now?
Yeah.
See, this is why I like this kid, because he's playing the best position on the football field.
Right. Yeah.
But it does take it's a distinctly different position than other spots on the offensive line. I was a center, and I think it's like being a catcher in baseball. You see the game at a completely different level. How much does playing center offensively help you defensively? I mean, does it help you kind of learn the game and break down what defenses see and give you an advantage as a linebacker?
Yeah, it's pretty funny, though. My sophomore year, I was starting at fullback for us at Sentinel, and then last year I was starting at guard. This year made the transition to center, so I've kind of seen it all. You kind of know what the guards are trying to do, trying to get out and block you on zone concepts. Center, you always know what he's doing with his call-outs, pass and run. And then fullback, you're seeing them making their movements across the line of scrimmage, knowing that ball's going to probably be following him. So, yeah, definitely. You pick up a lot of tendencies on both sides of the ball. You see linebacker starting to creep up, he's coming. And then same way, linebacker, you see the guys pointing out. You see his hands back, he's going to be pulling. So, yeah, I think definitely my football IQ has gone up a ton, being able to play both ways and having that opportunity.
So now Rollins, I know he's probably projected as a tackle. Is he playing inside or outside right now?
He's playing guard for us.
So which side does he line up on?
He's on my left. Yeah,
okay, so that must be the side you want to probably run to a lot.
Oh,
huh?
Definitely. Yeah. We get our big yards up that middle, right behind me and Dylan. So, Yeah, him and I on that double team's a pretty special thing, I'd say.
What is the best reaction you've ever seen from an opposing defensive lineman as you get there and you're ready to snap the ball? First play of the game, and he looks up and he sees this monster across from him.
Yeah, definitely. Last week against Capital, it was pretty funny. Dylan put a guy right on his back, and kid gets up saying, "Wow, you're really freaking good." So it's awesome to watch. I mean, our whole line's special. We have great coaching with Coach Joseph, and the technique we use is amazing, and the concepts we have going. So I think all of us can do it. But Dylan, of course, he's got that certain spotlight that shows, and I feel like opposing defenses should know it. So.
Sentinel has, you go back a couple of years. First of all, you had a lot of really great talent recently come through Sentinel High School football, and this program has been building under Coach Oliver now for quite a while. Go back a couple of years ago, had a really good team, lost like 4 or 5 games by a point, and even on like the last play of the game. Last year, make a nice run, but ultimately, don't make it all the way home. This is a team that has more expectations on it than a Sentinel team's had in a very long time. Do you guys talk about that? Do you think about that? Where are you at in terms of, I know we're early, 2 games in, right, to the season, but when you talk about the scope of what you want to accomplish here in your senior year?
Oh, yeah, definitely. At the start of it, we knew we were going to be the front runners, and we knew there was going to be a target on our back, and, we accept that. And you look at those teams in the past, the 5-5 team from 2019, it just was a lack of people buying into the process, and, there's really no family aspect to that, but I think Coach O's done a great job, getting us all to buy into it, and every Monday, we have motivational Mondays, and we get vulnerable with our teammates and really talk about, how we're going to get to that next step, and so I think we're excited for it. Sentinel hasn't won a state championship since 1972, and, nothing to bring better than community than that now.
Well, that charge towards that state championship continues on Friday. Butte, I know the Bulldogs are off to 0-2 start, but they were the team to beat in AA last year all the way until all of a sudden your future teammate Asher Croy ran for about 10,000 yards in Nuanez Stadium.
They might be playing some of the best defense around too. Because I think they have 14 points and 17 points or something like that. They've held teams too, so they haven't scored the ball a ton, but they're playing that down and dirty Butte ball.
That's right. Before we actually get to the Butte thing, I want to ask you about that element. The scores around AA are higher than they've ever been. Oh, yeah. Is that a product of the off season and not being able to practice as much? Or, what has led to this? You're seeing teams score 40 and 50 points every single week.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think some teams, they're just a little bit behind the 8 ball so far. Some defenses just aren't ready for that game-like tempo. And some defenses, just still trying to get into the hang of things. And offensively, it could be an opportunity for some of those teams that took, 7-on-7, getting the throwing game going and just slinging the ball around. So just getting explosive points that way. But, yeah, I definitely think that is a product of having a longer offseason, getting everything rolling.
Butte. It's in Butte, right?
Yep.
Nuanez Stadium. Not going to be the same as it usually is because of the corona, but it's still going to be wild. I'm sure even the limited Butte fans that come out are going to be ready to roll. What's it like playing that stadium? What do you expect on Friday?
Nuanez Stadium, I think everybody in the state loves playing there. 2 years ago, we go down to Nuanez. We're up 14. We end up losing the last second in overtime, so that's how those past 2 games have gone against them, losing on the last play. So we have quite a sour taste in our mouth. So, put records aside, Butte's a real scrappy team. They're real physical, and they can make anything happen. So this is a game they need to win, and it's a game we'd love to win. So I think we just got to come in it with the right mindset, keep playing the ball we have been, and execute offensively and keep everything rolling on defense.
Gino, phenomenal. Appreciate you coming down here, man. Thanks for spending the time. Wish you the best of the rest of the season. We'll obviously be tracking you and the rest of the Sentinel High football team all year, and then obviously on to the next level at the university after that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
You bet. Thanks for being here. The better, the worse. Modern sports in the modern era next.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana, KKVU HD3 Stevensville, and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula.
Burn Street Bistro invites you to venture out a bit to the west side. Savor weekend brunch 9 to 1, where you will always find ridiculously delicious and inventive weekly brunch specials that will scuttle your canoe. For those less adventurous, don't worry, we still have your tried and true favorites: biscuits and sausage gravy, huevos rancheros, mimosas, and more. Safety measures are in place and takeout service is available. Check out the menu and order online at burnsstbistro.com. Not downtown, not Reserve Street, Burn Street.
When the world feels a little uncertain, your banking shouldn't. At Opportunity Bank of Montana, we understand your checking account is still the center of your financial life. That's why our checking accounts offer the comfort of real-time alerts to help you stay in the know and in control of your account activity. Stay connected and receive real-time notices on your personal or business accounts. With online banking or the Opportunity Bank mobile app, you select and enroll in notifications that are important to you. We're here with checking account features that work for you. Opportunity Bank of Montana. Member FDIC.
Here at Florence Coffee, we take pumpkin serious, offering a variety of pumpkin lattes, chais, and frappes. They're all made with our real pumpkin to give your drink that genuine and satisfying fall pumpkin taste. Also try our all-natural pumpkin spice flavoring made from real spices and extracts. If you're ready for something pumpkin, you're ready for Florence Coffee. Go to any location or florencecoffeeco.com.
Under the big sky, Florence Coffee Company.
It's cooling off and we're all craving comfort food. The Montana Club will warm you up from the inside out with scratch-made goodness to satisfy those cold weather cravings. And now we're excited to offer many of your favorites in convenient family-style platters, perfect for watching the big game, parties, and family dinners. We make feeding your group easy. Order online or give us a call. Check out our platters at montanaclub.com. Clean, safe, and local. Your Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
I heard the signs before.
Depression.
Alcohol abuse.
Isolation.
Giving away possessions.
If somebody asked me what was wrong, I would shrug it off.
I didn't want to say the word suicide.
I was ashamed.
Then a loved one asked, "Are you suicidal?"
It was so hard, but I said yes.
They probably saved my life.
When it comes to suicide, the only wrong thing to say is to say nothing at all.
Need help? Text MT to 741-741 or call 800-273-TALK. Brought to you by DPHHS and aired by the NBA.
This year, the Alzheimer's Association Walk to End Alzheimer's is everywhere. Every suburban sidewalk, every busy avenue, every scenic path, everywhere. All of us are raising funds for one goal: a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementia. Because this disease isn't waiting, neither are you.
Take the first step now. The Missoula Walk to End Alzheimer's. Sunday, October 4th. Register at alz.org/walk.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tootell, Colton Nuanez. Here's some sports news for you. The Montana High School Association made several changes to its postseason tournaments and events Wednesday. The most notable changes to the all-class volleyball tournament, an event traditionally featuring all 4 high school classifications and hosted at the Brick Breeden Fieldhouse in Bozeman. Instead, the MHSA is exploring having on-site events in various host cities.
Other changes included district, divisional, and state tournaments having the option to offer single elimination bracket play or a tournament format at separate sites, potentially still allowing for double elimination. For state, each classification will determine the format, the MHSA said. Postseason play set to begin October 1st with state golf Class A's and Butte Class AA here in Missoula.
For other sports, the MHSA will finalize formats and locations after hearing from the classes and possible host communities. The host site must allow a minimum of 2 tickets per player suited for both the home and visitors team in the playoff structure, or a minimum of 2 tickets for each suited player in a tournament format. Because of this, though, Missoula County is reviewing its current rules because at this time they allow 2 tickets per athletes for the host teams only, not for the away teams.
Finally, the Montana Grizzlies got their first commitment for the class of 2021 on Wednesday. Billings Central junior kicker Cannon Capser gave his pledge that he will sign a little bit more than a year from now.
Sports Center brought to you by Aaron Pignano, Fexit Realty.
Now from the Kurtz Polaris studio, here is Ryan Tootell and Colter Nuanez.
Welcome back. Tootell and Nuanez, hour number 2. Great to be with you here on this very fine, what is this, Thursday afternoon. Hope you are having a wonderful day. Thanks for spending some of it with us on your radios, on your televisions, on your internets, as the case may be. If you missed anything in the first hour of the show, check it out on the podcast. The Tootell and Nuanez podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, all over, everywhere. You can check out the podcast thanks to our friends at Blackfoot Communications. If you would like to go ahead and give us a call, you can do that as well, 361-3688. 361-3688, the phone number. All guests join us via the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. You can also go ahead and text that phone number, and give us your feedback. Breaking news. Coulter Nuanez, you ready?
Ready.
The Pac-12 will play a 7-game football season starting in November.
Great.
If you would like to watch us, you can see us on the YouTube. Coulter's intonation belies the light shooting out of his fingertips with just pure joy and ecstasy over the news that there's more college football to be played here in this fall/winter, etc.
We have a crisis in leadership in America across the board.
It just can't be.
And this is such a prime example of it, man.
November 6th, the decision was voted on by the Pac-12 CEO group on Thursday, and it represents an official reversal after the conference announced in August that it would suspend all sports until at least January 1st. So maybe this also opens the door to bring back basketball, which would actually be more impactful at the Big Sky level when you talk about all the teams that had money games set up with Pac-12 opponents that were presumably off the board.
Well, if they're only playing 7 games, they're not bringing back money games.
I'm talking about basketball now.
Oh, sure.
I'm just saying because now this is a sport that is being played prior to January 1.
Right.
Which basketball had been pushed until. So if they've opened
they
door,
already confirmed last week that November 25th is when basketball will start.
Well, they did at the NCAA level, at the national level.
Sure.
I don't know that the conference had made that determination, and I still don't know that the conference has made that determination from a basketball standpoint. But if they've done this for football, perhaps basketball is shortly there behind.
I don't mean to be cynical about this. From this pure sports perspective, yay. More football. Great. I'm into it. I just want to see the football be quality. I just don't know how it can become quality. NFL guys are professionals. So the NFL is high quality because these guys, it's their job. They pour their heart and soul into being ready to play. So the level has not dissipated despite the quarantine. I don't know how college kids can possibly play at the highest level that they're capable of, given already the domineering rules instituted by the NCAA, but then the fact that they haven't been able to hardly train whatsoever to get to this point. And it also just seems so silly to me to have this waffling back and forth. I hate it for these kids.
Well, it's still 6 weeks away, so we'll see, maybe what preparation is able to be done. Also, of course, this is going to open the next question of should a Pac-12 team potentially be eligible for the playoff.
Right.
Playing only 7 games, and I think there's going to be a lot of naysayers to that. So we'll see. But it doesn't bother me.
It's just reaffirming all the parts that are hard to deal with. Sports are supposed to be about the love of the game, and that's just not what it is. And I just don't know how you justify postponing or then canceling or whatever you want to call it and then bringing it back, but then every other sport's just gone still. Like, what about all the other fall sports? What about all the female athletes? Like, it just seems so ridiculous that we're doing this endless merry-go-round for college football.
I don't know what to tell you, man. It's a whole different thing. It's not even the same entity.
I know. I just don't like when you can watch a sporting event for a very small amount of time and realize that the performers are not performing at their best level. It's not a sporting event I'm interested in watching.
Man, I am.
I know, but that's because you have nothing else to do.
Oh, yes, nothing whatsoever. Yeah, no kids, no wife, no job, just sitting around waiting for the MAC to play on a Tuesday. All right, Coulter, this segues seamlessly into what we wanted to talk about in this segment for the next 10 minutes or so. And that is, in the world of sports, this is not about 2020. It's not about COVID. It's not about, playing, not playing anything. It's just about the modernization of sports in general. There have been positives to it and negatives to it, and we wanted to discuss what are those things. What is better about sports now than have ever been? And what has maybe been some downfalls or drawbacks of sports. And we haven't discussed with each other which things we're going to pick up, which threads we're going to pick up, because there's probably hundreds of each if you really wanted to go down all the different rabbit holes that you could on this. But I'll let you start, Coulter. And since you're in such an overwhelmingly positive mood, why don't you tell me some of the things that you think aren't as good now as they once were?
Well, I'll start with the good, because I think that one of the things that you and I have discussed a lot over the last 6 months is with the massive unrest in our country, and the fact that there's so many people that are having such a hard time getting along, that sports is such a phenomenal example of how people can and do get along and work together. And I think that the sports that we cover specifically at the college level in Montana is such a great example of how people from utterly different backgrounds. I mean, you've made this joke with a couple of people. You said it to Will Cherry the other day, because Will Cherry former University of Montana basketball player, he spent most of his adult life playing overseas. But we asked him about what it was like when he first traveled internationally, and you made the joke of, well, hey, you already moved to a foreign country once before. You moved from Oakland to Missoula.
Right.
It's true, though. It is a vastly different thing. And then, to see Will Cherry mesh and acclimate with guys like Kareem Jamar, but more importantly, guys like Matthias Ward, guys that are from drastically different backgrounds, that's cool.
Yeah.
Playing for a coach like Wayne Tinkle from a totally different background too. It's cool. It's awesome. It's sweet to see. It's the best example to me of multiculturalism and the way that people and race relations. And so I think that the number one thing that you can point to towards what's so great about sports in 2020 is I think that by and large, sports, athletics is a true meritocracy, and it's become completely desegregated. And I think that that's an amazing thing. You see guys from all over the world playing in the NBA. I mean, you look at the NBA playoffs at any given time, you got dudes from Eastern Europe playing with dudes from inner city Chicago, playing with dudes from, South America. They're from everywhere. And I think that's awesome.
I think that's a great one. That's a really great one. I think there's a lot of them to it. I'm going to go a couple different ways with this. First of all, selfishly, the sports at this modern time have never been more available or more beautifully and wonderfully produced for our particularly television, but any media consumption than they are right now. And I'm very grateful for the DVR. I mean, the amount of sports that I would not be watching, that I would be wanting to watch and upset that I was missing without being able to record the doggone thing, it's just next level. And this is one of those modern inventions. A lot of the modern stuff, I'm like, I don't know how I live with it. This is the one where I'm like, I don't know how people lived without this thing, the old DVR, keeping it for them so that they could have dinner with their families and then just watch a game in like 43 minutes, So that's the first thing on my own personal level.
Well, it also takes such a massive either negligence or self-discipline to be able to do that, because you never spoil it for yourself.
No, I don't. I am in a cone of silence. I never answer my phone. I don't return texts. I don't do anything like that.
Yeah, most people don't have that ability.
Man. It's on them. It's on them. Anyway, the other thing that I think, first of all, I think that sports are basically better than they've ever been in terms of the level at which they're being played. I mean, what we are seeing athletes do now in a broad scope has basically never really been done before. And you talk about, even like The Last Dance. Michael Jordan, there's a scene in The Last Dance where it's like pregame or whatever, and Michael Jordan's talking smack, shocking, to somebody on his own team about shooting a shot from about 30 feet near the out-of-bounds line, just like you step in bounds and shoot it. And this guy, whoever it is, shoots and, of course, misses. And Michael Jordan steps up there and drills the shot. And it is with utter amazement that the ball goes through the hoop with his teammates. This is Michael Jordan. He made a 30-foot shot uncontested pregame, and everybody's like, he's just too good. He's just too good. How does he do it? We're seeing 35, 36-foot three-pointers made routinely by a handful of players in games in the league. And it is stunning. It is jaw on the floor level stuff. But that is an example of a progression. I realize the shooting aspect of basketball is obviously better than it's ever been. Maybe the center play in basketball is not better than it's ever been. So maybe it's a shift. Okay, fine. That's all well and good. What I'm saying is no one ever would have believed that Steph Curry and James Harden and Damian Lillard and a 7-foot Kevin Durant are doing what they're doing with a basketball. Never. And so that is the stuff that's awesome to me. Football, some of it is the athletes. A lot of it is the style, the progression of the actual sport itself.
And the equipment.
Everything, certainly. But it is a whole different game than it was in the 90s. You can talk about, well, you can't hit anybody anymore, and some of this, like,
I don't know if you've been watching the NFL. You can still hit people.
Yeah,
I promise.
But, like the quarterback stuff is somewhat exhausting to me, and the pass interference stuff. Okay, but the game is relentlessly entertaining. I mean, what used to be 9-6, because everybody just stood in the middle and had a rugby scrum for 60 minutes. Compared to what we got now it's just incomprehensibly great. So those are the things that I like. One other thing that I think is a positive too is, and this is sort of mirroring society to some extent, but it used to be. I mean, if you can go back in human history, right, and have the working class and often not working with any amount of freedom. You're working because you had to. You were born into a certain caste system, whatever the case may be. And we know the horrors of that going, all the way through human history. But even into relatively modern times, the last 100 years or so, you talk about, working for the corporation or the business or whatever, workers' rights, not having it, not being able to unionize, especially here in Montana. You talk about the mines, the Anaconda Copper Company, and how Butte was on the forefront of trying to band together as hundreds and hundreds of miners are just dying because conditions are either unsafe or unsanitary or whatever the case may be. Anyway, point being, we have come to a point now where, corporate America, businesses still wield a lot of power, and I don't know that that's necessarily good or bad. That's fine. But also the employees, the workers, also have the ability to, and the freedom to stay or go if they choose, or to try and come together to create a better atmosphere, a better situation for themselves. And I think you see this in sports tremendously, man. It used to be you go and you play and you take your paycheck and you go home and that's it. And now guys are being not just allowed to, but asked to be who they are and, in fact, to lead from their position of what they're about. And I'm not talking about this even in a social arena, though certainly we're seeing that, but I'm talking about this in terms of the general manager in the NBA used to be the guy who put the team together. Now the players are the ones who put the team together. Yep. And that for a long time was met with great resistance from a whole lot of people. And yet, there is a level at which the players who are the ones who are doing it, they're being paid well, but they're also the performers, they're also the workers in all of this, and they have, I think, showed a way to still create something that's wonderful for everybody who's consuming it, and also do it in a way that allows them independence, autonomy, and a modicum of power within this structure that is owner, president, GM, coach, and so on. And it's not power, we're taking it, you don't have any. It is coming together as a group that is, it's still hierarchical, and certainly the money still flows down. I mean, the owners are still getting theirs, okay? Don't kid yourself on that. But when you talk about the way in which the players are taken seriously in the things that they want and in the things that they're about, I think that is overall a good thing, and I think representative of what's happening at a larger level.
But don't you feel that's a situation that's much more prevalent in the NBA than it is in other leagues?
Absolutely.
I mean, the players have almost no power in the NFL.
Yeah.
Players are commodities in the NFL. Players are assets in the NBA.
Here's the thing. I think you are right. I think that is less about – I do think that's a lot about the sport itself, right? there's only one LeBron James, and in a certain way, yeah, there's only one Patrick Mahomes, but
who LeBron James is important to who he plays for. Who Patrick Mahomes is matters nothing to the NFL.
That's not true. That's not true. Who Patrick Mahomes is does matter to the NFL, but the difference
Maybe Mahomes is a bad example.
Well, he is, and that's the point.
The top 5 quarterbacks do matter who they are to the NFL, but almost everybody else, it doesn't matter.
But the problem is that everybody else in the NBA is like 200 guys, and then everybody else in the NFL is like 3,000 guys, and so then it gets watered down in that way. And I understand what you're saying, and you're right, and yet nonetheless, I think that the owners are, even in the NFL, are being pushed to create a relationship that is a two-way relationship with many of their players. And look, in the NFL, man, you're going to have 40% roster turnover annually at a minimum, right? It's just like guaranteed, and in some cases going to be 75%, depending on the year. That's what it is. So I think a lot of it is about the sport as much as it's about anything else. But I do think that owners, presidents and general managers, and players have a much more symbiotic relationship than they've ever had in sports, in professional sports. And I think that is largely a good thing.
I totally agree with you, particularly when it comes to non-football. I don't even want to call it immorality, because the concept of morality is just completely and utterly irrelevant. It's not even It's non-existent in the NFL, and that's something that I struggle with, only because I find the NFL just wildly entertaining.
Yep.
And I think that it's such an unbelievable test of will. And it's like I told you the other day, the thing I love about the NFL is that you're truly not allowed to be pathetic. Paul George was pathetic in Game 7. You cannot be pathetic in the NFL, man. It is point blank over. And the ruthlessness of that, I think, is great. But then making humans into commodities is a crazy thing. The meat market that exists, even when you talk about high school football in a rural state like Montana, through the college level, through the NFL, is crazy in football.
It is, but I don't think that it's that unique to football. And on one hand, when you speak about it as commoditization, it's very ugly to speak about it, and it's not incorrect to speak about it in that way, and it's very ugly to speak about it that way. That said, the people are the product too, right? I mean, this is what they do, no one else can do. And so they are the only ones that can go out there and play the game the way that they do it, because you and I cannot do it. And so, and their bodies are the things that are making this capable. Certainly their minds as well, but their physical makeup is what it is that can do this. That doesn't mean, even though that they're commodities, that they're not also taken seriously as people, as human beings, and having a relationship that is a serious one and has, a give and take within the power structure that exists, even though the work that they're doing is they're not the go-between for them and the thing that they create, like a book or a bookshelf. They are the thing. And I think that is unique to sports in particular, and it's a very odd thing to think about.
Worst is not a good word for this, but something that I find somewhat disheartening, but just sort of a way of life, given the instantaneous nature of the media and its coverage of sports. I was thinking about this the other night when I was watching the Nuggets. I was thinking to myself, in terms of the national reputation of a pair of young players like Jokic and Jamal Murray, in fact, the best thing that could happen to them would be to lose, not to win. And I was thinking about how as soon as your expectation level reaches a certain point where only fulfilling it over and over and over again makes the sports watching public consider you adequate and not a failure, not failing to live up to expectations, it's such a unique thing that only exists in sports. Like, for example, Giannis Antetokounmpo was this unbelievable story, this unbelievable star, and he still is broadly. But when he won the first MVP for a small market team, it was a Cinderella story. Then the next year he comes back with a Fury. It's not a fluke. They're the best team in the NBA. But now that they lost in 5 games to the Heat, the narrative completely switches. Can Giannis do it? How is he going to fulfill his potential? Will he ever win a championship? We're going to hear that every second until he does. And then once he does, then it'll be, will he ever win another one? And we've seen this with LeBron. LeBron James, as soon as he punched through and basically beat the Detroit Pistons by himself to go to his first finals, then it was, well, it's finals or bust for LeBron. LeBron can't win a championship. LeBron can't win the big one. And I was just thinking, like, if the Nuggets were to somehow come back and upset the Lakers and knock off LeBron and win the NBA title, it would be absolutely the peak for their reputation nationally, because they'd be this wonderful Cinderella story, and they would never reach that level of overwhelming popularity and overwhelming good vibes ever again.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's better for them to lose.
No, I totally agree. I'm just talking. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, once you set the expectation level for yourself, it's so interesting the way that the national narrative around you changes.
Yeah, and
Aaron Rodgers is the greatest example, right?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers, when he won it, it was like, man, how many is this guy going to win? And then the fact that we thought, well, once Aaron Rodgers won 1, he's going to win 5, and he hasn't. It's like, well, what's missing? What's wrong with him? Is he a malcontent? Are the Packers just a disaster? What is going on with the Packers?
Right. No, and that's a very fair. That's a really good analogy, and that's true. But it isn't better to not win for him then in 2011, or for LeBron when he did, and even for Giannis or Jamal Murray and these guys now. Dirk Nowitzki only won 1, right? And when he finally broke through, I think he was largely celebrated for it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that he got...
Dirk is such a phenomenal example of this, because Dirk, because he's sort of rickety and was never this...
Rickety?
He's never this transcendent athlete, though. I mean, he's a transcendent specimen of a person.
Jokic. They're the same guy almost.
Yeah, except for Jokic weighs like 80 pounds more.
Oh, come on.
I mean, Jokic is a house, dude.
Come on. Jokic, if he weighs 80 pounds more, he should weigh 40 pounds less. I mean,
right.
I mean, it ain't LeBron's 80.
Yeah, no, I know,
pounds.
but there's I mean, rap about it with me for a second, because there is a distinct element of why Dirk Nowitzki was different than everybody else.
Yeah, because he was 7 feet and shooting off a 1 foot.
But I just mean in terms of the analysis of him. This is what I'm talking about, to come full circle about the meat market that is the recruiting game and the way that we bestow hype upon guys. It's why I always, like they always say, there's always these stats. There's more 2-star guys in the NFL than there is 5-star guys. It's because if you're a 5-star guy, you can literally do nothing but fail unless you're Jadeveon Clowney.
Your point is this. It's the expectation that surrounds you.
Right.
And that's
Dirk
why...
was never LeBron or Kevin Durant.
That's right. And neither are Jamal Murray and Jokic. But
Jokic is right.
But Giannis is
right. Murray is different, though.
No, not now, not yet. Right now, if they did this, it would be the greatest upset in the world. Mm-hmm. And next year, no one would expect the Nuggets to go back and win it. No one. You know? But if Giannis won it,
but say Jamal Murray won the championship this year, and then never won another one in his career. By and large, it would be spun as if he was a failure. Or that he didn't quite do what we thought he could.
He never came back. I think it's there's more to it than that. But hey, how old is he? 23?
Maybe even 22.
Well, we're about a decade and 15 years from having this conversation. So let's not fill the egg basket just yet.
Well, and he would be he'd be the first guy to do it since Dwayne Wade.
To do what?
To be like the number 1 guard, to be like the number 1 scoring guard on a championship team.
Yeah.
That is that young.
That's it.
It doesn't happen when you're before the age of 25 in the NBA.
He's still, by the way, 7 games away from doing it, which is quite a long ways at this point. It's Tootell, Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio. We'll take a quick break. On the other side, Neil Daly. He's a tight end. He's a linebacker. He's everything. Billings West High School. He's going to join us, tell him what's going on at Billings West. He'll also commit to Montana State, so he will join us right after this. Hey, Kurtz Polaris is at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. The weather is warming up. It is in fact, cooling off, but it is getting warm for the weekend. It looks like very nice to get outside, go scout camp, get your dirt bikes out there. You can get up and back in a hurry on a Beta or Husqvarna dirt bike, or you can get your side-by-side going, take camping gear up there, whatever you need to go walk around in the woods. Your Razor, your Ranger, your General, all the Polaris side-by-sides are as good as it gets. They will get you up and back safely, happily, enjoyable. They also have all the accessories, the clothing you could need, the apparel, all the safety equipment, helmets, gloves, and so forth for whatever equipment it is that you need or you want this fall and heading into hunting season, all the fun that's to be had out in the wider world in the state of Montana. Okay, go to kurtzpolaris.com to check out all the inventory. Again, 2 locations in western Montana, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, Highway 83 in Sealy. Recreate the way you always envisioned with Kurtz Polaris online at kurtzpolaris.com. Listen, I know you know 5 realtors, and I know your brother-in-law's cousin's a realtor, and your mom's best friend's daughter is a realtor. But can those realtors juggle knives? Can those realtors swallow fire? Can those realtors walk across hot coals? Well, neither can Aaron Pignano, but he can give you the best service and take good care of you when you're buying or selling your home. Whether you're a first-time buyer or have done this a few times, call Aaron Pignano at 406-241-0024. That's 406-241-0024, or check out search406.com.
Paradise Falls has long been a staple of the Missoula community and has always taken great joy in hosting you and your family on game day Saturdays for nearly 30 years. Even though the Grizz won't be in action this fall, Paradise Falls would love to invite you to come watch football whenever football's being played. Whether you're in the mood for breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, or a happy hour, the wonderful staff at Paradise Falls will take care of you no matter what game you'd like to watch. So come enjoy football throughout the fall in Paradise at Paradise Falls, located at 3621 Brook Street in Missoula.
The world of real estate is always evolving. That's more true now than ever. If you are a longtime Missoulian that is looking to upgrade or downsize, it might be the best time yet to sell. If you are in the position to buy something new, today might be the best time to buy. And no matter what questions you have when it comes to residential or commercial real estate, Mike Nugent and the professionals at Berkshire Hathaway in Missoula have your answers. To find out what Mike can do for you, give him a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
For the last 2 months, our team at Missoula's Wingate has been working hard to provide clean, comfortable accommodations for our guests serving as essential workers in our community. Our water park is reopened, and we look forward to helping your family spend some quality time together outside of your house. We're diligent in our cleaning and encouraging social distancing to help you have a relaxing stay while protecting your health. Give your family a much-deserved break and call us to book your room and time in the water park. We're Missoula's Wingate, where we make you feel at home when you're not.
Have you taken the My Voter Page Challenge? It's at votinginmontana.com, and it's the easiest way to determine if you're ready to vote. The coronavirus has made it more important than ever to verify your voter information. If you've changed your address, last name, or maybe haven't voted in a while, take the My Voter Page Challenge and make your vote count. Votinginmontana.com and this message are brought to you by the Montana Association of Clerk and Recorders and Election Administrators.
The Missoula Downtown Association is pleased to present Downtown Connections, an MDA member webinar series. Join fellow MDA members online to reconnect, learn more about business resources, and share inspiration. Tuesday, October 13th from 12 to 1, participants will learn about Empower MT, an organization working to create a more just and inclusive society. Learn more about trainings and workshops available to businesses and organizations. For more information on MDA's Downtown Connections webinar series, go to MissoulaDowntown.com.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Hi, how are you? Tootell, Nuanez. Here's some sports news. The Montana High School Association made several changes to its postseason tournaments and events Wednesday. The most notable change is to the all-class volleyball tournament, an event traditionally featuring all 4 high school classifications and hosted at the Brick Breeden Fieldhouse in Bozeman. Instead, the MHSA is exploring having on-site events in various host cities.
Breaking news, Stevensville's football game at Butte Central canceled due to COVID-19 cases at Butte Central. That means Butte Central's down 3 games. The season's only been going for 5. Not good for the Maroons. Other postseason changes includes the chance to go single elimination brackets if the host site wants to, or they can also go double elimination. Postseason play for MHSA begins October 1st with State Golf Class A and Butte Class AA here in Missoula.
The Montana Grizzlies got their first commitment for the class of 2021 on Wednesday. Billings Central junior kicker Camden Capser gave his pledge, and he will sign more than a year from now. He is the Montana all-class record holder in PATs in his career already. He has 146 makes. Later on tonight, Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals between the LA Lakers and Denver Nuggets. We'll have it right here for you on 102.9 ESPN Radio. Pregame at 6:30, opening tip at 7. The Lakers on top of the Nuggets 2-1, though the Nuggets did win Game 3. Let's look at your ESPN Sports Center, brought to us by Aaron Pignano of Exit Realty. Welcome back. Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. At Gus Tootell at 102.9 ESPN, at Skyline Sports MT. Those are your relevant Twitter handles. Gresh, thank you so much for being with us. Congratulations on the award. Let's talk a little bit about your life as a wrestler. Nope, not it.
That ain't it.
We wanted to talk to Neil Daly. We'll see if we can get Neil Daly going here in just a minute. But Coulter, Neil Daly is a defensive end and linebacker from Billings West High School, and he's a commit to Montana State. But interestingly, started his career off here in Missoula at Sentinel High School.
He's a standout athlete at Sentinel. He was one of the rising stars on the track team that won the state championship, Sentinel's first Class AA state championship in track since 1963. Daly was a sophomore that year, and he placed in the high jump, scored some points in the high jump individually. Scored some points. He's actually third in the high jump, got a bronze medal. Then he also scored points in the 200 meters. I believe he was sixth in the 200 meters, which is impressive for a guy his size. Granted, he was a little bit more slender back during his sophomore year, but nonetheless, a kid who can run really well. And he was also one of the legs on the 4x100 meter team that got second to Billings West, and that was a really fast short relay team as well. So he's a guy who can really run, and then his football career has definitely blossomed since he moved to Billings and moved to Billings West. He was a second-team All-State defensive end a year ago. He's one of these guys where you recruit this kid for what he could be, and I think he's showing what he could be now early on in his senior year. But a lot of the offers that he got an offer from Air Force, which is a Mountain West offer, impressive, as well as Montana State. But they're recruiting this kid based on potential because he's a long, lean, athletic kid who can really move side to side as well as has dead straight speed. And look at Montana State's defense, that 3-4 defense, both the edge spots, the buck end and the Sam linebacker spot, both those spots, you need to be able to run. And I see this kid more as a Sam type guy because I just don't know if he's going to be able to get up to like the 250, 260 range. Bryce Zirk played that spot about 260 last year.
Yeah.
I don't know if Daly's got that in him. Well, he could definitely be 230 and still be able to run and play that Sam linebacker spot like Troy Anderson's playing right now. But he's a intriguing prospect because I think he's got a lot of upside, and it's a cool connection, the fact that he's been in Missoula now playing for Billings West. We've had a couple of Sentinel guys in here. We heard from Gino Leonard earlier, and I was teasing him yesterday, so that'd be kind of cool for you guys because they're still friends with Neil. They're the same class. And I said that'd be kind of cool and fun for you guys if you guys got to play West in the state championship. He said, oh, yeah, it'd be great to compete against him.
You know, it's interesting when you talk about defensive end, too, because we assume defensive linemen are big guys, right? But we understand, generally speaking, the athleticism of the defensive end, and also the defensive end has become a very blurred position in a lot of defensive fronts, right, where you have really outside linebackers that are playing, you know, the traditional defensive end position on half the defensive snaps. You know, they move up and they're coming off the edge and that. But the idea of trying to get the maximum amount of, quote, athleticism to size ratio, right? I mean, that's what you want. You want to be able to have the strength to go through a guy if you need to, with the quickness and speed to go around or past or swim or whatever if you need to as well. Is that still, like, how big do you absolutely have to be? Like, if you were just, here's my point. Jamal Adams comes off the edge. He's not going against the offensive tackle when he's lining up. I understand that. And yet he's sitting up there at 205 or whatever he is.
Well, right.
And he's smoke showing because he's so quick. Now, if you're going to play that position all the time, you can't be that. But what's the minimum that you can be if you are fast enough?
Well, they can't block you if they can't touch you.
Right. That's what I'm saying.
Matt McNell's never big. good luck.
Yeah.
You can't block him. Mac Bedell's, his hand fighting was crazy. Mac Bedell, he's through it. You can't touch him.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter. I mean, he played that Sam spot as good as anybody I've ever seen for multiple. I mean, he had like 60 tackles for loss in his last 3 years at Montana State.
Right.
And he was 200 pounds. I mean, he's not that big. I mean, obviously, Montana State is, with the scheme that they're running right now, they're spoiled to a level that I think that they'll never be spoiled again, at least under this coaching staff, because you're never going to have a guy like Troy Anderson again. You're never going to have 6'4", 240 who can straight up bounce out and play nickel and you're fine. That's not a thing. I mean, he was guarding slot guys easily last year. He almost had a couple picks guarding slot guys step for step. It's an anomaly. You're not going to have that. I mean, that guy plays at Oregon, not at Montana State, right? Yeah. But I do think that what you're getting at is true. Mass maybe is a little bit overrated because I think that if you can run and you can shed blocks, particularly at that Sam spot, the Buck guy he's going to be up on the line and stand up the end quite a bit. He will be engaging at the point of attack. He'll have to split a tight end and a tackle sometimes. You do need to have some mass for that.
Yeah.
But when you're playing the Sam spot, though, I don't know. I mean, you can get by. I mean, Daniel Hardy, who's the guy who's probably going to play in place of Troy Anderson this year, he's about 220, 225. I think that's fine. I think that's just good enough.
We'll take a quick break on the other side. We'll see if we can get to Neil Daly. If we can't, we'll try and reload that for you tomorrow, one way or the other. We will find a way. We also got some Thursday night football. The two best color schemes in all of sports about to play football tonight. The Jags and the Dolphins. Can't wait. All of that coming up right after this. Hey, at the Silver Slipper, sports are back. And the Silver Slipper has 55 televisions for you to watch them on. That's right. That's plenty. And you really need them all because you got MLB, NHL, NBA, and NFL, not to mention college football all happening. And it's all happening right now, and it's all on at the Silver Slipper. Drink specials every single day, 20 Keno machines, a liquor store, and pizza. You got to keep yourself fed, for crying out loud. There's nowhere else you should be watching your favorite team. At the Slipper, it's all about great food, tasty drinks, and their urge to have a good time. And by the way, the card room is back open again. Games nightly at 7 o'clock. Call or text 333-1500 or visit MissoulaPoker.com for more info. Stop by today and see why the Silver Slipper is one of Montana's best kept secrets across the street from Walmart on Brooks. And check them out on Facebook as well for daily drink special updates and up-to-the-minute information. It's the Silver Slipper. Listen, I know you know 5 realtors, and I know your brother-in-law's cousin's a realtor, and your mom's best friend's daughter is a realtor. But can those realtors juggle knives? Can those realtors swallow fire? Can those realtors walk across hot coals? Well, neither can Aaron Pignano, but he can give you the best service and take good care of you when you're buying or selling your home. Whether you're a first-time buyer or have done this a few times, call Aaron Pignano at 406-241-0024. That's 406-241-0024. Or check out search406.com.
Yes, Kurt's Polaris is open and the great outdoors are wide open. So why not make the most of it during the Polaris Upgrade Your Ride event? Take the family on a cross-country adventure with Polaris General, the world's most comfortable, most powerful crossover machines. Kick up some dust in a Razor, the off-road's most thrilling performance side-by-sides. Grab the bars of a legendary Sportsman ATV and discover the freedom of unstoppable performance. Or get more done between your fence lines with Ranger, America's favorite off-road workhorse. It's time to elevate your outdoor adventures. Step up to the off-road's best for as little as $5 a day during the Polaris Upgrade Your Ride event at Kurt's Polaris. Kurt's Polaris has 2 great locations at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and on Highway 83 in Sealy. Everything you need to get off the beaten path, from machines and equipment to clothing and accessories, is at Kurt's Polaris. Online at kurtzpolaris.com. Offer valid in U.S. through 9/30/20 on select new Sportsman models. Subject to qualification and financing. See participating dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
It's cooling off and we're all craving comfort food. The Montana Club will warm you up from the inside out with scratch-made goodness to satisfy those cold weather cravings. And now we're excited to offer many of your favorites in convenient family-style platters, perfect for watching the big game, parties, and family dinners. We make feeding your group easy. Order online or give us a call. Check out our platters at montanaclub.com. Clean, safe, and local. Your Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
The daily routine was challenging. After the first week, I was ready to quit. But I learned to trust the process, and after 5 months, I didn't want to leave.
Turn 5 months of structure and discipline into a lifetime of opportunity. Achieve personal growth, build confidence, discover a sense of purpose. If you are between the ages of 16 and 18 years old and are interested in making a positive change in your life, apply to our cost-free program online at nycacademy.org. Brought to you by Montana Youth Challenge Academy and this station.
The Missoula City County Immunization Clinic is teaming up with the Care Van to offer our rural communities an easy way to get a flu shot. This year, it's more important than ever to protect yourself and others against influenza. To keep staff and the public safe, they'll be doing drive-through clinics by appointment. Space is limited. Call 258-4966 today to schedule your time for Thursday the 24th at Rural Fire Station 1 in Frenchtown or Bonner School parking lot on Friday the 25th. Schedule your flu shot at 258-4966.
Tootell and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Welcome back. Tootell and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you here on a Thursday afternoon. We're going to get you Neil Daly tomorrow. Promise. 100%.
And Jace Kluswich.
Yeah, it's going to be great. A couple of high school coaches as well. The chick who doesn't know sports loaded up for a Friday for you out there, boys and girls. If you missed anything in the show, check it out on the podcast, the Tootell and Nuanez podcast, available wherever you get your podcast. Rate, review, subscribe, listen. Appreciate that. The Tootell and Nuanez podcast, available thanks to Blackfoot Communications. By the way, have you ever tried Live? You should. It's from Trail West Bank. What is it? Well, think about an ATM with a personal touch. It's like a family team member on video who helps bank your way. See how Live can make your busy life a little easier. Make deposits, withdrawals, transfer funds, and more. That's from Trail West Bank. Coulter tonight. Jags, Dolphins, Jacksonville 1-1. One of the surprises of the early 2020 season. They're a 3-point favorite against the Dolphins, who, when are we going to see Tua? I don't know. Probably not too soon, right? Fitzpatrick's going to do his thing. Who do you like tonight?
I mean, he might do his thing, but it doesn't matter. If you're 0-4, 0-5, you got to go. Right?
Yeah,
I think here's the answer to when you're going to see Tua Tagovailoa. When he's healthy.
That's exactly it. Has nothing to do with who's better, who's ready to go, whatever. It's
there's no question who's better. Tua Tagovailoa has one of the greatest arms in the history of football.
Okay, well, I mean, there's been a lot of good arms, Marcus Russell, that haven't been the best player of all time.
It's just like sacrilegious to compare Tua Tagovailoa to Jamarcus Russell.
There's no question he's gonna play, and I think he's gonna be a very, very good pro, if not a great pro. Okay, so I'm not saying that. You're absolutely right. It's only and all about how comfortable they feel about his hip and his health. And even though he's out there moving around, the Dolphins aren't going anywhere this season, right? They're not going anywhere. So why get out there and be anything but perfectly certain that this guy is as healthy as he can possibly be before you roll him out there and let him start going? And by the way, what better guy than Ryan Fitzpatrick to have there to run it for you? You know what I mean? Regardless of how much he's teaching directly or indirectly or whatever. I mean, Fitzpatrick's been in this role a long, long time. He knows what he's doing. He's, a consummate pro, as they say, and I think that it's a good situation for Tua right at this moment.
There's been a mass exodus from Jacksonville that's been well chronicled and been well publicized in all the narratives surrounding the league. I told you that I thought the Jags, you and Sean Rainey were both arguing that you thought they were one of the worst teams in the league. I definitely don't think that they're any better than towards the top of the bottom third, but I never thought they were one of the worst teams in the league. And why is that? Because I think that the Jacksonville Jaguars have a pretty darn good front seven. I know they've given up some yards so far this year, but they're better personnel-wise than I think people give them credit for. You have to remember that they drafted the best pass rusher in the entire draft 2 years ago, Josh Allen out of Kentucky. The kid is a freak. He's a great player. They also drafted Taven Bryant that same draft. He's an interior guy from Florida who probably would have been a top 15 pick had he not had some other issues. But they still have Myles Jack. When he's healthy, he's really good. They still got Joe Schobert, who's one of the best inside linebackers in the league, one of the most unknown guys in the league. I mean, he led the league in tackles 2 years in a row. I mean, he's a great player. They have talent in the secondary, and I think that when you have a guy that your team believes in playing quarterback, it takes you a long ways. And I do think they believe in Gardner Minshew.
They do. How can you not? Everybody should believe in Gardner Minshew. Look at him.
At James Robinson out of Illinois State, if you watched Illinois State at all last year, FCS guys got jobbed by the fact that there was no, because of all the things that happened with no pro days and things like that. James Robinson absolutely would have gotten drafted if this would have been a normal year. He's an unbelievably talented player. He's one of the best running backs I've seen in the FCS. And so the fact is, if he rushes for 89 yards tonight, he'll have the most yards through 3 games in the history of the NFL by an undrafted player. I don't know. I'm not arguing that the Jags are some revelation or something like that. I just think that they're a team that is – the Jags are the quintessential – they've already done it so far this year. They're the quintessential team that's going to screw up the notion of picking NFL games on paper because they're going to win 6 games, and they're going to beat teams that they shouldn't beat.
I got the Dolphins.
Wow.
At least to cover.
You hate the Dolphins
but
for no rational reason whatsoever.
No, what do you mean not rational? That's putrid uniforms. Awful uniforms. Before we go, just
Mike Gesicki.
Want to remind everybody tonight.
Rising star.
Devontae Parker. Watch him.
No, Devontae Parker is what he is. He's an adequate but not tremendous NFL wide receiver. Mike Gesicki has a chance to be a top 5 tight end, maybe better.
That I don't care about anything you said. That's football stuff. PPR league, buddy. What Devontae Parker?
What's that?
Let's go. Before we go, just want to remind everybody, though, again, coming out in just minutes now, as soon as we're done here, the newest episode of Grizz Greats, the silver anniversary of the 1995 national champions. And this one, our first defensive player, Blaine McElmurray. And Blaine McElmurray, at the top of the show, if you were with us, you heard a portion, an excerpt of our conversation with him. And just fun, man. Just a great guy, great to talk to, great stories, and just a lot of fun all the way around. Obviously, I mean, one of the again, great Montana football players in the history of the program. Went and played in the league, but also very down to earth and personable guy, and a blast to talk to him. So take a look at that. Grizz Greats is available everywhere on Apple Podcasts, on Google Podcasts. You can get it on Transistor, on Spotify, however you want to watch it. Or you can just go to grizzgreats.com, too. You can listen right there on the website if you choose to do that as well. So wherever you want to get it, you can get it. But the newest episode is out now, or very shortly here in the next number of minutes, and we will have that out for you, and we're excited to release it to you today.
Can't wait to make you scream tomorrow over this. You're actually probably going to make me scream over this.
This is great.
The NCAA Division I Council now has a proposal in front of them to get rid of win requirements for bowl teams, which then would mean that feasibly a team with 0 wins could go to a bowl.
The Misery Bowl in Nome, Alaska, between 2 0-win teams on January 1st.
Wait to watch.
Pushing for this.
Can't wait to watch the 2-win Nebraska Cornhuskers play in some irrelevant bowl the week of Christmas.
Enjoy Game 4, Western Conference Finals.
Hi there. It's Les Schwab Tires. Well, more like Les Schwab alignment and brakes and shocks and wheels and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer all that. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep at night, because all those services affect things like steering and stopping. That's why we offer more than tires to help keep you safe. Stop by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
Introducing Sportsbet Montana, powered by the Montana Lottery. Join in the excitement of Sportsbet Montana by betting on your favorite sports and teams, both collegiate and professional, including NFL, NBA, MLB, MMA, NASCAR, and more. There are multiple ways to bet, including in-game, which gets you in on the action live as the game unfolds, and parlay betting, where you have the chance to win big. Sportsbet Montana is secure and interactive. Learn more at sportsbetmontana.com.
The days are getting shorter, which means, well, the nights are getting longer. It also means it's time to call Liberty Electric to get those much-needed upgrades and fixes to your outdoor lighting systems. The pro technicians at Liberty Electric can build, install, upgrade any type of system you want for your home or business, whether for security purposes or just to keep the patio and walkways looking good. Don't get stuck in the dark this fall. Call us today for a free inspection and estimate.
Liberty Electric. Call 541-WIRE. That's 541-9473.
Travel to distant lands and taste exotic flavors with Soft Landing Missoula's United We Eat at Home. Celebrate the incredible culinary talents of Missoula